It was a bright, sunny Saturday in Pinewood Heights. This was a small, quiet neighborhood where kids loved to play outside. They rode bikes, chased each other, and zoomed around on scooters all day long. The streets were safe, the houses were neat, and everyone seemed happy. One of those kids was a boy named Max Harper. Max was 10 years old, with messy brown hair and a big grin that showed he was having the time of his life. Today, he was riding his shiny red scooter up and down the sidewalk. The wheels made a soft whirring sound as he went fast, then slow, then fast again. To Max, this was the best day ever. He felt free, like nothing could stop him. His mom, Sarah, sat on the front porch of their little blue house. She had a cup of lemonade in her hand and a smile on her face. She loved watching Max play. His laughter filled the air, and it made her heart feel warm. The sun was high in the sky, the birds were chirping, and the grass smelled fresh. Everything seemed perfect. The neighborhood was calm, the kind of place where you could leave your door unlocked and not worry. Kids shouted and giggled as they ran around. Neighbors waved to each other. It was a happy day, or so it seemed. But here's the thing, trouble was coming. It wasn't loud or obvious at first. It didn't crash in like a storm or scream like a siren. No, this trouble was sneaky. It was hiding across the street, waiting for the right moment to jump out. And it was wearing a bright pink visor. That trouble had a name, Karen Mitchell. Karen lived in the house right across from Max and Sarah. Her house was perfect, too perfect. The grass was always cut just right, the flowers were always bright, and not a single leaf dared to fall out of place. Karen was the queen of the HOA. That's the group that makes rules for the neighborhood, like no loud music or keep your yard clean. But Karen didn't just follow the rules, she made sure everyone else did too. She carried a clipboard everywhere, like it was her crown. On that clipboard, she wrote down every little thing she didn't like. A bike left on a lawn? She'd write it down. A dog barking too loud? She'd write it down. A kid having too much fun? Oh, you bet she'd write that down too. Karen had sharp eyes that missed nothing. If you stepped even one toe out of line, she'd see it. She'd stand on her porch, arms crossed, glaring at anyone who dared to break her rules. Her bright pink visor sat on her head like a warning sign. It said, "I'm watching you, and I don't like what I see." Most people in Pinewood Heights just rolled their eyes and ignored her. They'd whisper to each other, "Oh, that's just Karen being Karen." But deep down, they knew she could be a problem. She wasn't mean all the time, but when she got mad, watch out. She'd yell, she'd complain, and she'd call anyone she could to make you stop whatever you were doing. And Max? Poor little Max was her favorite target. He didn't know it, but Karen had been watching him for weeks. Every time he rode his scooter, her eyes followed him. Every time he laughed too loud, she'd frown. Every time he went too fast, she'd scribble something on her clipboard. To Karen, Max wasn't just a kid having fun. He was a rule breaker. A troublemaker. A problem she needed to fix. She didn't like how fast he went. She didn't like how loud his scooter was. She didn't like how happy he looked. To her, happiness was suspicious. Kids should be quiet, she thought. They should sit still and follow the rules. But Max? He didn't sit still. He didn't stay quiet. He zoomed and laughed and played, and that drove Karen crazy. Sarah knew about Karen. She'd seen her glaring from across the street plenty of times. She'd heard Karen mutter things like, "That boy's too wild," or "Someone needs to do something about this." But Sarah didn't worry too much. She figured Karen was just grumpy. Lots of people are grumpy sometimes, right? Sarah wasn't the type to pick fights. She was calm and kind, with a soft voice and a big heart. She'd wave at Karen sometimes, just to be nice. Karen never waved back. Sarah would shrug and think, "Oh well, her loss." She didn't know that today, Karen wasn't just going to glare or mutter. Today, Karen was going to do something big. Something loud. Something that would turn this sunny Saturday upside down. Max didn't know any of this, of course. He was too busy having fun. He pushed his scooter with one foot, then the other, feeling the wind in his hair. "Wee," he shouted as he raced past his house. Sarah clapped from the porch. "Looking good, Max," she called. He turned around and waved, almost falling off his scooter. Sarah laughed. Max laughed too. It was a perfect moment. The kind of moment you want to last forever. But it wouldn't. Because Karen was watching, and Karen had a plan. What Karen didn't know, what nobody knew yet, was that this day wasn't going to go her way. She thought she was in charge. She thought she could boss everyone around, like always. She thought Max was just a noisy kid and Sarah was just a mom who didn't care about rules. But she was wrong. Oh, she was so wrong. Something big was hiding in plain sight, and Karen was about to walk right into it. This wasn't just a story about a kid and his scooter. This was a story about surprises, about secrets, about people who look one way but turn out to be something else. And Karen? She had no idea what was coming. Let's pause for a second. Think about your own neighborhood. Have you ever had a neighbor like Karen? Someone who watches you too closely? Someone who gets mad about silly things, like riding a bike or playing outside. Maybe they've knocked on your door to complain. Maybe they've left notes on your car. Or maybe they just stare at you until you feel weird. What do you think? Has a neighbor ever watched you too much? Tell me about it. I'd love to know. Because in Pinewood Heights, that's exactly what was happening. And it was about to get wild. Back to the story. Max kept riding his scooter, totally happy. The sun was warm, the sky was blue, and the day felt endless. He didn't see Karen standing on her porch, her arms crossed tight. He didn't hear her muttering under her breath. He didn't notice her pink visor glinting in the sunlight like a warning light. But Sarah did. She glanced across the street and saw Karen standing there. For a moment, their eyes met. Sarah gave a little wave, just to be friendly. Karen didn't wave back. She turned away and stomped inside her house, slamming the door. Sarah tilted her head. Huh, she said to herself. She's extra grumpy today. She didn't think much of it. Not yet. Inside her perfect house, Karen was pacing. Back and forth, back and forth. Her flip-flops slapped the floor with every step. She held her clipboard in one hand and a phone in the other. That boy, she grumbled. That noisy, wild boy. He's breaking the rules. He's ruining everything. She stopped and peeked out her window. There was Max, still riding his scooter. Up the sidewalk, down the sidewalk, around in little circles. To Max, it was fun. To Karen, it was a crime. I've had enough, she said. She tapped her clipboard with her pen. Time to do something about this. What did she mean by that? What was Karen planning? She wasn't just going to complain this time. Oh no. She had something bigger in mind. Something that would make Max stop riding, make Sarah pay attention, and make the whole neighborhood talk. Karen thought she was smart. She thought she was right. She thought she could win. But here's the secret, she didn't know everything. Not about Max. Not about Sarah. Not about what was really going on in Pinewood Heights. Max kept riding. The whir of his scooter wheels mixed with the sound of birds and the breeze. Sarah sipped her lemonade and watched him, her smile soft and calm. Across the street, Karen gripped her phone tighter. Trouble was brewing, all right. It was wearing a pink visor, and it was ready to strike. But what Karen didn't see, what she couldn't see yet, was that this trouble wasn't going to win. Not today. Something bigger, something surprising, was waiting just around the corner. So, what do you think? Can you picture it? A sunny day, a kid on a scooter, a grumpy neighbor with a clipboard? It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it's not. There's more to this story. A lot more. Stick around, because things are about to get exciting. Max doesn't know it. Karen doesn't know it. But you're about to find out. Ready? Let's keep going. What's your guess? Has a neighbor ever gotten mad at you for something small? Tell me below. I can't wait to hear. The sun was still shining bright in Pinewood Heights. Max was riding his red scooter up and down the sidewalk, his hair flapping in the wind. He was smiling, having the best time ever. Everything felt good until Karen came out. Oh boy, did she come out mad. She stormed out of her perfect little house like a tornado in flip-flops. Those flip-flops went smack, smack, smack on the pavement, loud like tiny thunderclaps. Her pink visor bounced on her head, and her face was all scrunched up, like she'd just eaten a sour lemon. Karen stopped right in the middle of the street and pointed at Max. "That scooter's too loud," she yelled. Her voice was sharp, like a dog barking at a stranger. She jabbed her finger at him, like he'd done something really, really bad, like he'd robbed a bank or something crazy. Max froze for a second, his scooter wobbling a little. He didn't know what was happening. He just wanted to ride and have fun. But Karen? She was mad. Super mad. "It's against the rules," she shouted. "I'm calling the police." Sarah, Max's mom, was still on the porch. She heard Karen yelling and raised one eyebrow. That's when you lift one side of your forehead because something seems weird. Sarah didn't jump up or yell back. She stayed calm, like she always did. She'd heard Karen say stuff like this before. Lots of times, actually. Karen was always complaining about something: loud dogs, messy yards, kids playing too much. Everyone in Pinewood Heights knew Karen loved to make a fuss. So Sarah just watched, sipping her lemonade, thinking, "Here we go again." But Karen wasn't done. Oh no, not even close. She stomped closer to Max, her flip-flops smacking even louder. "You can't ride that thing here," she snapped. Her voice was so loud, it echoed off the houses. "This is a peaceful neighborhood, and you're ruining it." She pulled her phone out of her pocket, waving it around like it was a magic wand. Max slowed down his scooter and stopped. He looked at Karen, then at his mom, his eyes big and confused. He didn't get it. Was he in trouble? Was his scooter really that bad? He just wanted to play. Sarah put her lemonade down and stepped off the porch. She walked over slow and easy, her hands in her pockets. "It's just a scooter, Karen," she said. Her voice was steady, like a teacher talking to a kid who's upset. She wasn't mad or scared. She was just trying to keep things cool. But Karen? She didn't care. She wasn't listening at all. She was too busy being loud and angry. She turned her back on Sarah and started pressing buttons on her phone. "Hello? Yes, I need the police," she said into it, acting like Max was some kind of big, scary criminal mastermind, like he was planning to take over the world with his little red scooter. Max scratched his head and looked at his mom. "What's she doing?" he whispered. Sarah gave him a little smile and a shrug. "Don't worry," she whispered back. "She's just being Karen." Max nodded, but he still looked a little worried. He didn't like people yelling at him. Who does? He stood there, holding his scooter, watching Karen talk on her phone. The wheels on his scooter were quiet now, but Karen kept going, louder and louder. "I need someone here right now," Karen said into her phone. "There's a kid making noise and breaking rules. It's terrible." She paced back and forth, her flip-flops smacking the ground with every step. Smack, smack, smack. It was like a beat to her angry song. She kept pointing at Max, then at the scooter, then at the sky, like even the clouds were helping him be naughty. "This neighborhood is supposed to be quiet," she yelled. "No scooters. No noise. No fun." Okay, she didn't say that last part, but it sure felt like she meant it. Sarah crossed her arms and watched. She wasn't scared of Karen. She'd seen her do this kind of thing before. One time, Karen called the trash people because someone's bin was out too long. Another time, she yelled at a guy for mowing his lawn too early. Karen loved rules more than anything. And when she thought someone broke them, watch out. She'd get loud, she'd get bossy, and she'd call anyone she could think of: cops, the HOA president, even the mayor once. Sarah knew all this. That's why she stayed calm. She didn't want to make it worse. But something felt different this time. Karen wasn't just grumbling or writing stuff on her clipboard. She was serious. She was really calling the police over a scooter. Max looked at his mom again. "Am I in trouble?" he asked, his voice small. Sarah shook her head. "No way, buddy," she said. "You're fine. Just stay here with me." Max nodded and held his scooter tighter, like it was his best friend. He didn't want anyone to take it away. Karen kept talking on her phone, her voice getting higher and louder. "Yes, it's an emergency," she said. "There's a disturbance. Right now." She glared at Max, then at Sarah, her eyes narrow like a cat ready to pounce. Sarah just stood there, cool as a cucumber. That's a funny way to say someone's not freaking out. She wasn't yelling back. She wasn't running around. She just waited, watching Karen make her big scene. Neighbors started to peek out. Old Mr. Jenkins opened his window and stuck his head out. Mrs. Lopez stepped onto her porch with her little dog, Tilly. Even the kids down the street stopped playing to look. Everyone wanted to know what was going on. Karen loved that. She loved having people watch her. It made her feel important, like she was the boss of everything. She waved her phone around some more. "The police are coming," she announced, loud enough for the whole block to hear. "They'll fix this." Max shuffled his feet. "Mom, why's she so mad?" he asked. Sarah bent down a little so she could look him in the eye. "Some people just like to be mad," she said. "Don't worry about it, okay?" Max nodded, but he still didn't get it. To him, riding his scooter was fun. It wasn't loud. It wasn't bad. It was just a scooter. Why was Karen acting like he'd set off fireworks or something? Karen hung up her phone and put her hands on her hips. "They're on their way," she said, smirking like she'd just won a prize. "You'll see. No more scooters around here." She pointed at Max again. "You should know better." Max blinked. He didn't know what to say. He wasn't trying to be bad. He was just a kid. Sarah straightened up and looked at Karen. "He's not hurting anyone," she said, still calm. "Maybe you should relax." "Relax?" Karen shouted. "This is my neighborhood. I keep it nice. You're the ones who need to follow the rules." She shook her phone at Sarah, like it was proof she was right. Sarah didn't argue. She just sighed a little and stayed quiet. She knew arguing with Karen was like talking to a wall. It wouldn't change anything. Karen was too mad, too stubborn, too loud. But here's the thing Karen didn't know: something big was coming. Something huge. She thought she was in charge. She thought she could yell and call the cops and make everything go her way. But she was wrong. Oh, she was so wrong. There was a secret, a big, juicy secret that was about to turn her world upside down. She didn't see it. She didn't even guess it. She was too busy being angry, too busy pointing fingers, too busy thinking she was the queen of Pinewood Heights. Max stood close to his mom, his scooter by his side. The sun was still shining, but the air felt different now. It wasn't so happy anymore. It was tense, like when you're waiting for something to happen and you don't know what. Karen kept pacing, her flip-flops going smack, smack, smack. She kept talking, too, even though no one was really listening. "This is why we have rules," she said. "This is why I'm here. Someone has to stop this nonsense." Sarah looked at Max and gave him a little wink. "That's when you close one eye quick, like you're sharing a secret." Max smiled a tiny bit. He didn't know what was going on, but he trusted his mom. She always made things okay. And right now, she didn't look worried at all. That made him feel better. But Karen? She was a mess. She was mad, she was loud, and she was sure she was going to win. Little did she know, the game was about to change. Something was coming, something she'd never expect. Can you guess what it might be? Think about it. A kid on a scooter, a mad neighbor, a mom who's super calm. What's the twist? Stick around, because you're going to find out soon. This is getting good, isn't it? What do you think Karen's face will look like when she realizes she's wrong? I bet it'll be funny. Karen was still mad. Really, really mad. She stood in the middle of the street, holding her phone up to her ear like it was her best weapon. "Yes, officer, there's a disturbance right now," she shouted. Her voice was loud and squeaky, like a bird that wouldn't stop chirping. She waved her free hand around, pointing at Max and his red scooter. She didn't care who heard her, she wanted everyone to know she was in charge. Max, meanwhile, hopped off his scooter. The wheels stopped spinning, and he stood there, looking at his mom. He didn't know what to do. Was he in big trouble? He didn't feel like he'd done anything wrong. Sarah, his mom, didn't look worried at all. She stood on the sidewalk, her hands in her pockets, watching Karen yell. Then she did something funny. She gave Max a wink. "You know, when you close one eye quick, like you're sharing a little secret? Max saw it and tilted his head. What did that mean? Did his mom know something he didn't? Did she have a plan? He wasn't sure, but that wink made him feel a tiny bit better. Maybe things weren't so bad after all. Karen kept going. She didn't see the wink. She didn't care about Max or Sarah right now. She was too busy talking to the police on her phone. It's awful, she said. This kid's riding his scooter, making noise, breaking rules. You need to come quick. She paced back and forth, her flip-flops going smack, smack, smack on the pavement. She loved making a big deal out of everything. And now, she had an audience. Neighbors started peeking out their windows. Old Mr. Jenkins pulled his curtains back and stared. Mrs. Lopez stepped onto her porch with her tiny dog, Tilly, who barked once then sat down. Even the kids playing down the street stopped kicking their ball to look. Karen saw them watching, and oh, she loved it. She waved her arms even more, like she was putting on a show. Rules, she shouted. We have rules for a reason. This is about safety. She pointed at Max again, her pink visor bouncing on her head. He's ruining everything. Scooters don't belong here. Max scratched his arm and looked at his scooter. It was just a toy. How could it ruin anything? But Karen acted like it was the worst thing ever. She kept yelling, louder and louder, making sure everyone heard her big, angry voice. Sarah didn't say anything. She just stood there, calm and quiet. She didn't yell back. She didn't stomp her feet. She didn't even look mad. She just watched Karen, her arms crossed now, like she was waiting for something. Max stayed close to her, holding his scooter tight. He didn't like all the yelling, but his mom's calm face made him feel safe. Karen didn't notice how calm Sarah was. She was too busy being loud, too busy thinking she was winning. But here's where it gets interesting. Something new happened. A car rolled up slow and quiet, like a cat sneaking through the grass. It wasn't a police car with flashing lights or loud sirens. No, this car was different. It was a plain black sedan, which is just a fancy word for a regular car. The windows were dark tinted, so you couldn't see inside. It stopped right there on the street, not far from where Karen was yelling. Max saw it first. He nudged his mom. Look, he whispered, pointing at the car. Sarah glanced over, and a tiny smile tugged at her lips. She didn't say anything, but that smile. It was like she'd been expecting this. Karen didn't see the car. She was too busy shouting into her phone. Yes, it's still happening, she said. He's destroying property values. You need to hurry. She waved her arms some more, her flip-flops smacking the ground. She was so loud, so caught up in her own noise, that she didn't hear the car doors open. But Max did. He heard a soft click, click, and then two men stepped out. They were tall, dressed in dark jackets. Not bright jackets like you wear for fun, these were serious, plain ones. They didn't smile. They didn't wave. They just stood there by the car, looking around. Max stared at them. Who are they? He whispered to his mom. Sarah didn't answer right away. She just kept watching, her arms still crossed. The men didn't rush over. They didn't shout. They moved slow, like they had all the time in the world. One of them adjusted his jacket. The other looked right at Sarah and nodded, just a tiny bit. Max saw that nod. Mom, he said, tugging her sleeve. Do you know them? Sarah didn't say yes or no. She just winked at him again. 2 winks in one day. Now Max was really curious. What was going on? Karen still didn't notice. She was too busy yelling about Max. He's a troublemaker, she told the phone. This neighborhood deserves better. Scooters are dangerous. She spun around, pointing at the houses, at the sidewalk, at Max's scooter like it was some evil thing. The neighbors kept watching. Mr. Jenkins leaned out his window a little more. Mrs. Lopez picked up Tilly and hugged her close. The kids down the street whispered to each other, pointing at Karen, then at the black car. Everyone could feel it, something was happening. Something big. The 2 men started walking toward them. Slow steps, quiet steps. Their dark jackets made them look important, like people you don't mess with. Max watched them get closer. "Mom, are they cops?" he asked. Sarah tilted her head, like she was thinking about it. "Maybe," she said softly. "Just wait and see." Max nodded, but he was confused. If they were cops, where were the lights? Where was the siren? These guys didn't look like the police he'd seen on TV. They were too quiet, too sneaky. Karen finally saw them. She stopped pacing for a second and squinted. "Who are you?" she snapped, holding her phone tight. The men didn't answer right away. One of them looked at her, then at Sarah. The other kept his hands in his pockets, just watching. Karen didn't like that. "I'm talking to the real police," she said, shaking her phone at them. "I don't need you here." She thought they were just nosy people, maybe neighbors she didn't know. She turned back to her call. "Yes, officer, hurry up. It's getting worse." Sarah didn't move. She didn't laugh or shout or anything. She just stood there, her arms crossed, that tiny smile still on her face. Max looked at her, then at the men, then at Karen. Something was up. Something weird. Why wasn't his mom surprised? Why did those men nod at her? Why was she so calm when Karen was freaking out? Max didn't know, but he could feel it. The air was getting heavy, like before a big rain. The neighbors noticed too. Mr. Jenkins muttered something to himself. Mrs. Lopez whispered to Tilly, "What's going on, huh?" The kids down the street crept closer, trying to hear better. Karen kept yelling, but now it sounded different. She was still loud, still mad, but something was shifting. The two men in dark jackets were close now, really close. They stopped a few steps away, standing between Karen and Max. Karen finally put her phone down for a second. "What do you want?" she barked at them. "This isn't your business." One of the men raised an eyebrow. "Is it?" he said. His voice was low, calm, not like Karen's at all. She blinked, confused. "What?" she said. "I'm handling this. The police are coming." The man didn't say anything back. He just looked at Sarah again. Sarah nodded back, just a little. Max saw it. "Mom," he whispered. "What's happening?" Sarah patted his head. "You'll see," she said. "It's okay." Karen didn't like that. She didn't like these men. She didn't like Sarah's calm face. She didn't like anything right now. "You're all in trouble," she shouted. "All of you." She waved her phone again, like it could fix everything. But the men didn't move. They didn't care about her yelling. They just stood there, watching her, waiting. And Sarah? She wasn't surprised at all. Not one bit. What do you think those guys were doing there? Any guesses? Something big was coming, something Karen didn't see. She thought she was the boss, thought she could yell and win. But she didn't know the whole story. Max didn't either, but his mom did. That wink, that smile, that nod, it all meant something. What was it? "Keep watching, because this is about to get good. Tell me, what would you do if two strange guys showed up like that? I bet it'd be wild." The two men in dark jackets walked right up to where everything was happening. They didn't rush. They didn't shout. They just moved slow and steady, like they knew exactly what they were doing. Karen was still yelling into her phone, her flip-flops smacking the ground, her pink visor bouncing on her head. Max stood next to his mom, holding his red scooter, watching it all with big eyes. Sarah, his mom, just stood there with her arms crossed, a tiny smile on her face. The neighbors, Mr. Jenkins, Mrs. Lopez, and the kids down the street were all peeking out, trying to see what was going on. It was a sunny day in Pinewood Heights, but things were about to get wild. One of the men stopped right in front of Karen. He reached into his jacket and pulled out something shiny, a badge. It looked like a little gold star, the kind cops have. He held it up so Karen could see it. "Ma'am," he said, his voice strong and firm, "put the phone down." Karen stopped talking. Her mouth was open, mid-yell, but no sound came out. She looked at the badge, then at the man, then at the badge again. "W what?" she stammered, her voice all shaky. She sounded like a kid who got caught doing something naughty. "I'm reporting a crime," she said, holding her phone tighter, like it could protect her. The man didn't blink. He didn't smile. He just stared at her with serious eyes. "Put it down," he said again, not loud, but strong enough to make you listen. Karen's hand shook a little. She didn't want to stop. She wanted to keep yelling, keep being the boss. But something about that badge, something about that voice, made her freeze. Her mouth closed, and she slowly lowered the phone. She didn't hang up yet, she just held it by her side, staring at the man like he'd grown two heads. The second man turned to Sarah. He didn't say much, just nodded at her, like they were old friends. "Mrs. Harper," he said, "everything okay here?" His voice was calm, not mad or loud. Sarah smiled bigger now, not a sneaky smile, but a real one. "Just another day in Pinewood Heights," she said, like this was no big deal. Max looked up at her. "Mom," he whispered. "What's going on?" Sarah patted his head. "You'll see," she said, and gave him another wink. That was 3 winks today. Max was super confused, but he trusted his mom. Karen's eyes got huge, like big round saucers. She looked at the men, then at Sarah, then back at the men. "Wait," she said, her voice all high and squeaky. "You know them?" She sounded like she couldn't believe it. She pointed at Sarah, then at the men, her fingers shaking. "What's happening?" she asked, her flip-flops quiet now because she wasn't moving. She just stood there, stuck, like her brain couldn't figure it out. And here's the twist, the big, juicy twist that changes everything. Those 2 men? They weren't just regular cops. Nope. They were undercover detectives. That means they were secret police, the kind who don't wear uniforms or drive flashy cars with sirens. They sneak around, solving big mysteries, catching bad guys without anyone knowing who they are. Their black sedan with the dark windows. That was their sneaky car. No lights, no noise, just quiet and hidden, perfect for secret work. And Sarah? Oh, Sarah wasn't just a mom sitting on her porch, watching her kid ride a scooter. She was way more than that. She was a private investigator. That's a person who gets hired to find clues, solve problems, and figure things out like a detective, but not part of the police. Sarah had been working on a case right here in Pinewood Heights. A secret case. A big case. And those 2 men in dark jackets? They were her backup. They were helping her, watching out for her, making sure everything went right. Karen had no idea. None at all. She thought Max was just a noisy kid breaking rules. She thought Sarah was just a lazy mom who didn't care. She thought she could yell and call 911 and fix everything her way. But she was so wrong. She just called the police on the wrong person, the worst person to mess with. Sarah wasn't scared of Karen. She wasn't worried about the phone call. She knew these detectives. She'd planned this. And now, Karen was about to find out the truth. Max's mouth dropped open. "Mom," he said again, louder this time. "You're a detective." Sarah laughed a little. "Sort of," she said. "I find things out for people. It's my job." Max blinked. "Like a spy?" he asked. Sarah nodded. "A little like that, yeah." Max's eyes got big. "Cool," he said, holding his scooter tighter. He wasn't scared anymore. He was excited. His mom was a hero. Karen didn't think it was cool. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Her face went white, then red, then white again. You're what?" she stammered. "This is crazy. I called the police because of him." She pointed at Max, her hand shaking so much it wiggled like a worm. The first man with the badge stepped closer. "You called about a scooter," he said, his voice still firm. "That's not a crime, ma'am." Karen blinked fast. But it's loud," she said. "It's against the rules." The second man shook his head. "We're not here for scooters," he said. "We're here with Mrs. Harper." Karen's jaw dropped again. "What?" she squeaked. "Why?" She looked at Sarah, then at the men, then at Max. Her brain was spinning, trying to catch up. She didn't get it. She didn't want to get it. She just wanted to be right, like always. Sarah stepped forward now, still calm, still smiling. "Karen," she said, "you might want to sit down for this." Karen didn't sit. She just stared. "What's going on?" she demanded. The first man put his badge away. Mrs. Harper's been working with us, he said. She's helping us watch the neighborhood. Karen's eyes got even wider. Watch the neighborhood, she said. For what? Sarah shrugged. Just some things, she said. Nothing you need to worry about. But Karen was worried. Really worried. She didn't like secrets. She didn't like not knowing. She liked being the one who knew everything, the one who made the rules. And now she looked silly. Really silly. She'd called 911 on a kid with a scooter, and that kid's mom was a secret investigator with real detectives helping her. Oops. Max giggled. You're in trouble now, he whispered to Karen, but not mean, just funny. Karen glared at him, but it wasn't scary anymore. It was weak. She didn't know what to say. The neighbors were still watching. Mr. Jenkins chuckled from his window. Mrs. Lopez hugged Tilly and smiled. The kids down the street started laughing, pointing at Karen. She called the cops on a scooter, one of them shouted. Everyone could see it now, Karen had messed up big time. The first man looked at Karen again. Hang up the phone, he said. No police are coming for this. Karen's hand shook as she pressed a button and ended the call. She looked at the ground, then at Sarah, then at the men. I didn't know, she said, her voice small now, not loud anymore. Sarah nodded. It's okay, she said. Just maybe don't call 911 over a scooter next time. Karen didn't answer. She just stood there, her flip-flops quiet, her pink visor drooping a little. She wasn't the queen of Pinewood Heights right now. She was just a lady who'd made a big mistake. The detectives didn't yell at her. They didn't arrest her. They just stood there, calm and strong, letting her figure it out. Sarah didn't yell either. She didn't need to. She'd won without even raising her voice. Max looked up at his mom. You're awesome, he said. Sarah grinned. Thanks, buddy, she said. You're pretty awesome too. The second man nodded at Max. Nice scooter, he said. Max beamed. Thanks, he said, holding it up like a prize. Bet you didn't see that coming, huh? Karen sure didn't. She thought she was smart, calling the police on a kid. But Sarah was smarter, way smarter. She wasn't just a mom. She was a secret hero, working with real detectives. And Karen? She was just a grumpy lady with a phone and a visor, standing there looking silly. What would you do if you were Karen right now? Would you run inside? Would you say sorry? Would you just stand there, all embarrassed? I bet her face was redder than Max's scooter. This was the big moment, the big reveal, and it turned everything upside down. Stick around, because there's more to come. What do you think happens next? Tell me, I can't wait to hear. Karen stood there in the middle of the street, her face turning redder than Max's shiny scooter. She didn't know what to do. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again, like a fish out of water. The two detectives in their dark jackets looked at her, calm and serious. One of them, the one who'd shown his badge, spoke up. Ma'am, he said, his voice strong but not mean, there's no crime here. He pointed at Max's scooter, which was leaning against Max's leg now. A kid riding a scooter isn't something to call the police about. Karen blinked fast. Her cheeks were so red, they looked like apples. But it's loud, she said, her voice small and shaky now. She didn't sound like the bossy HOA queen anymore. She sounded like someone who knew she'd messed up. The detective shook his head. It's not a crime, he said again. But we'd appreciate it if you stopped tying up the emergency line. That means he was telling her nicely to stop calling 911 for silly things. The emergency line is for real problems, like if someone's hurt or there's a fire, not for scooters. Karen's eyes got big. She looked at her phone, still in her hand, like it had betrayed her. She didn't say anything back. She couldn't. The neighbors watching from their windows started whispering to each other. Old Mr. Jenkins leaned out a little more, a big grin on his face. Mrs. Lopez, holding her tiny dog Tilly, giggled softly. Down the street, the kids who'd been playing stopped and laughed out loud. She called the cops on a scooter, one of them shouted, and they all cracked up. Everyone could see it now, Karen's big plan had fallen apart, and it was funny. Sarah, Max's mom, didn't laugh. She didn't need to. She crouched down so she was eye to eye with Max. "You're good, buddy," she said, her voice soft and kind. "Keep riding." Max's face lit up like the sun. He grinned so big, you could see all his teeth. "Really?" he asked. Sarah nodded. "Really," she said. Max didn't wait another second. He grabbed his red scooter, hopped on, and zoomed off down the sidewalk. The wheels went whir, 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 and he laughed as he went. He was free again, just like before Karen got mad. Maybe even freer, because now he knew his mom was super cool. Karen watched him go. She didn't move. She just stood there, her flip-flops quiet, her pink visor drooping a little. Her clipboard, the one she always carried like a shield, dangled by her side. It swung a little in the breeze, useless now. She didn't write anything on it. She didn't yell. She didn't point. She was speechless, which means she had no words left. For the first time ever, the HOA queen didn't know what to say. She looked silly standing there, all alone, with everyone watching her. The detectives gave her one last look. The first one, the badge guy, spoke again. "Next time," he said, "check who you're messing with." His voice wasn't loud, but it hit hard. It was like a warning, but a calm one. He wasn't mad, he was just telling her the truth. Karen's face got even redder, if that was possible. She looked down at the ground, then up at the men, then back at the ground. She didn't argue. She didn't snap back. She just nodded a tiny bit, like she got it. The two men turned and walked back to their black car. Their dark jackets moved a little as they went, slow and steady, like they'd done their job and were ready to go. They didn't rush. They didn't need to. They climbed into the car, one in the front, one in the back, and the doors shut with a soft click. The engine started, quiet and smooth, and the car rolled away down the street. No sirens, no lights, just gone. Max waved at them as they passed, and the second man waved back, just a little. Max grinned even bigger. "Cool," he shouted, and kept riding. Karen didn't wave. She didn't do anything. She just stood there for a minute, all by herself. The neighbors kept watching. Mr. Jenkins shook his head and laughed again. "That's what she gets," he muttered. Mrs. Lopez nodded. "Poor Karen," she said to Tilly, but she was smiling too. The kids down the street ran over now, kicking their ball again, but they kept looking at Karen and giggling. "She's not the boss anymore," one of them said. And they were right. Karen finally moved. She turned around, slow like a robot, and started walking back to her house. Her flip-flops went smack, 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 but it wasn't loud or proud anymore. It was sad, like she'd lost something big. Her clipboard hung low, brushing against her leg. She didn't look at anyone, not Sarah, not Max, not the neighbors. She kept her eyes on the ground, her face still red, her visor hiding her eyes a little. She climbed the steps to her perfect porch, opened her perfect door, and slipped inside. The door shut with a soft thud, and she was gone. Max zoomed past on his scooter, laughing loud. "We," he shouted, his voice bouncing off the houses. Sarah stood up and watched him, her hands in her pockets again. She didn't cheer or clap, she didn't need to. She just smiled, calm and happy, like everything was back to normal. And it was better than normal, even. Max was riding, the sun was shining, and Karen was quiet. For once, the HOA queen had no power. She couldn't boss anyone around. She couldn't make rules stick. She couldn't stop the fun. The neighbors started going back to their day. Mr. Jenkins pulled his head back inside and shut his window, still chuckling. Mrs. Lopez carried Tilly into her house, humming a little song. The kids down the street kicked their ball harder, shouting and playing like nothing had happened. But something had happened. Something big. Karen had tried to win, and she'd lost. Max had just wanted to ride, and he'd won. Sarah had stayed cool, and she'd shown everyone who she really was, a secret hero. Max ruled the sidewalk that day. He zoomed up and down, his red scooter flashing in the sun. He didn't care about Karen anymore. He didn't care about her rules or her clipboard or her phone calls. He was free, and it felt awesome. "Look, Mom," he yelled, doing a little hop with his scooter. Sarah clapped this time. "Nice one," she called back. Max laughed and kept going, faster and faster, like he could ride forever. Inside her house, Karen probably sat down. Maybe she looked at her clipboard and sighed. Maybe she took off her pink visor and tossed it on the table. Maybe she thought about what the detective said, check who you're messing with. She'd messed with Sarah, and Sarah wasn't just a mom. She was a private investigator with detective friends. Karen didn't know that before, but she sure knew it now. She'd made a big mistake, and everyone saw it. The day went on. The sun stayed bright, the birds kept chirping, and Pinewood Heights felt happy again. Max's scooter wheels went whir, a sound that filled the air. Sarah sat back on her porch, picking up her lemonade. She took a sip and watched Max, her smile soft and proud. She didn't need to say much. She didn't need to brag. She'd handled everything without yelling, without fighting, just by being smart and calm. Karen stayed inside. She didn't come out again that day. Her perfect house was quiet, her perfect yard empty. No more yelling, no more pacing, no more phone calls. For once, she wasn't the queen. She was just a lady who'd learned a lesson the hard way. And Max? He was the king of the sidewalk, riding like nothing could stop him. Because nothing could not anymore. Justice was served, but not with handcuffs or a big fight. It was served with a scooter, a smile, and a little bit of truth. Karen couldn't boss Max around. She couldn't scare Sarah. She couldn't win. And that felt right. It felt good. The neighborhood was back to normal, better than normal, because the kid who just wanted to play got to keep playing. What do you think? Wasn't that a fun ending? Max got to ride, Karen got quiet, and Sarah was the coolest mom ever. It's like a happy little victory for the good guys. Tell me, what would you do if you were Max right now? Would you keep riding too? I bet you would. Max kept riding his scooter, the red wheels spinning fast as he zoomed down the sidewalk. The whir sound was like music now, happy and free. The sun was still up, shining bright, making everything look golden. Sarah sat back on her porch, her lemonade glass cold in her hand. She took another sip and watched Max go. He was laughing, his hair flapping in the wind, his grin so big it could light up the whole street. Karen was gone inside her house, out of sight, and for once, Pinewood Heights felt peaceful again. Really peaceful, not the fake kind Karen always talked about. The neighbors were still buzzing a little. Mr. Jenkins stayed at his window for a while, peeking out every now and then. He'd seen the whole thing, the detectives, Karen's red face, Max's big win. That boy's got guts, he said to himself, nodding like he approved. He liked Max. Max was a good kid, always waving hello, always playing outside. Mr. Jenkins didn't care about scooters or noise. He cared about kids being kids. So he smiled, shut his window all the way, and went back to his comfy chair inside. Mrs. Lopez was in her yard now, letting Tilly sniff the grass. She kept looking across the street at Karen's house. She's quiet now, huh, Tilly, she said to her little dog. Tilly wagged her tail and barked once, like she agreed. Mrs. Lopez laughed. She'd lived next to Karen for years, and she knew how bossy Karen could be. One time, Karen told Mrs. Lopez her flowers were too bright. Can you believe that? Too bright? Mrs. Lopez just ignored her, but today? Today felt different. Today, Karen didn't get her way, and Mrs. Lopez liked that. She picked up Tilly and went inside, still smiling. The kids down the street were back to their game. Their ball bounced across the pavement, thump, 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 and they ran after it, shouting and giggling. Every once in a while, one of them would look at Max and yell, "You're the best." Max waved back, his scooter still going strong. He liked that they were cheering for him. It made him feel big, like a superhero riding a super scooter. He did a little jump, hopping off the ground and landing with a wobble. "Whoa," he said, laughing when he almost fell. Sarah clapped again from the porch. "Careful, champ," she called. Max grinned and kept going. Karen's house stayed quiet. The curtains didn't move. The door didn't open. No one saw her pink visor or her clipboard anymore. She was probably sitting inside, thinking about what happened. Maybe she was mad. Maybe she was embarrassed. Maybe she was both. Her face had been so red when the detectives talked to her like a tomato, or maybe a stop sign. She'd wanted to be the boss so bad. She'd wanted Max to stop writing, wanted Sarah to say sorry, wanted everyone to follow her rules. But none of that happened. Instead, she looked silly, and Max got to keep having fun. Sarah leaned back in her chair, her lemonade almost gone. She watched Max zoom past her house, then turn around and zoom back. He was fast now, faster than before, like he had extra energy from winning. "Go, Max, go," she shouted, and he waved without looking, almost wobbling again. Sarah laughed. She loved seeing him happy. That's what moms do, they want their kids to smile, to play, to feel free. And today, Max was all of those things. Karen couldn't take that away, no matter how loud she yelled or how many times she called 911. The detectives were long gone now. Their black car had disappeared around the corner, quiet as a shadow. They didn't need to stay. They'd done their job, helped Sarah, shut Karen down, kept things fair. Max didn't know what their secret case was about, and neither did Karen. Maybe it was about a bad guy hiding in Pinewood Heights. Maybe it was about something sneaky happening nearby. Whatever it was, Sarah was on it, and those detectives trusted her. That's why they nodded at her, why they showed up when they did. They were a team, and Karen didn't stand a chance. Max stopped for a second to catch his breath. He hopped off his scooter and ran over to Sarah. "Mom, that was awesome," he said, his eyes shiny with excitement. "You're like a superhero." Sarah smiled and ruffled his hair. "Nah," she said. "I just help out sometimes." "You're the real star today." Max puffed out his chest. "Yeah," he said. "I beat Karen." Sarah laughed again. "You sure did, buddy," she said. "Now go ride some more." Max didn't need to be told twice. He grabbed his scooter and took off, the whir sound starting up again. The day kept going, slow and happy. The sun moved across the sky, getting lower but still warm. Birds chirped in the trees, and a breeze rustled the leaves. Pinewood Heights was back to being a fun place, a place where kids could play, where moms could relax, where neighbors could wave and smile. Karen's big fuss hadn't ruined anything. It just made things better, in a funny way. Max was happier. Sarah was prouder. And Karen? Well, she was learning something, even if she didn't like it. Inside her house, Karen might have been looking out her window. Maybe she saw Max riding, saw Sarah sitting, saw the neighbors going about their day. Maybe she felt a little silly, a little small. Her clipboard was probably on her table, blank and forgotten. Her phone was probably next to it, quiet now. She didn't call anyone else. She didn't yell out her door. She just stayed inside, letting the day go on without her. For once, she wasn't in charge, and that was okay. It had to be okay, because no one was listening to her anymore. Max did another lap around the block. He went past Mr. Jenkins's house, past Mrs. Lopez's yard, past the kids with their ball. Everyone waved or smiled or shouted something nice. "Keep going, Max," one kid yelled. "You're fast." Max laughed and waved back. He felt like the king of the sidewalk, like nothing could stop him. And nothing could, not Karen, not her rules, not her phone calls. He was free, and it was the best feeling ever. Sarah finished her lemonade and set the glass down. She stretched her arms and leaned back, watching Max with happy eyes. She didn't need to say much. She didn't need to do much. She'd already done the big stuff, stayed calm, worked with the detectives, showed Karen who was really smart. Now she could just sit and enjoy the day. That's what winners do, they don't brag, they just relax. The kids down the street started a new game. They kicked their ball higher, laughing louder. Mr. Jenkins came out to water his plants, whistling a little tune. Mrs. Lopez let Tilly run around her yard, barking at butterflies. Everything was normal again, but better. Max's scooter kept going whir, 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 and the sound mixed with all the other happy noises. It was like a song about a good day, a day when the right people won. Karen's porch stayed empty. Her perfect flowers stayed still. Her perfect grass didn't move. She didn't come out to glare or complain. She was done for now, and that felt good. Max ruled the sidewalk, and Sarah ruled the moment. They didn't need a crown or a clipboard, they just needed each other, and a little bit of truth. The sun kept sinking, turning the sky pink and orange. Max didn't stop riding. He went faster, then slower, then faster again, his legs pumping, his smile never fading. Sarah watched him, proud and quiet. The day was ending, but the fun wasn't. Not for Max. Not for Pinewood Heights. Karen had lost, and that was just as simple, fair, and perfect. What do you think? Max got to ride, Karen learned a lesson, and Sarah was the coolest ever. It's a happy ending, right? Tell me, would you keep riding like Max, or would you sit with Sarah and watch? I bet it'd be fun either way. And that's how it all happened in Pinewood Heights. It was a sunny day, a regular day, until it turned into something big. A kid on a scooter, little Max with his red wheels, and his mom, Sarah, changed everything. They turned the tables on Karen, the nosy neighbor who thought she could boss everyone around. Karen came out yelling, waving her phone, acting like she ruled the world. But by the end, Max was still riding, Sarah was still smiling, and Karen was quiet, hiding in her house. It was a day no one would forget, especially not in that little neighborhood. Think about it for a second. Karen thought she was strong because she was loud. She thought she could tell Max to stop riding his scooter, thought she could scare Sarah with her rules and her 911 call. She had her clipboard, her pink visor, her big voice, she was sure she'd win. But she didn't. Max kept going, zooming up and down the sidewalk like nothing happened. Sarah stayed calm, cool as a cucumber, and showed everyone who she really was, a secret hero, a private investigator with detectives on her side. They didn't need to yell or fight. They just needed to be themselves, and that was enough. It just goes to show something important: sometimes the people you think you can push around are the ones with the real strength. Karen looked at Max and saw a noisy kid. She looked at Sarah and saw a mom who didn't care about rules. She was wrong, super wrong. Max was brave, riding his scooter even when Karen got mad. Sarah was smart, working on a big case, staying quiet until the right moment. They didn't look strong at first, not to Karen. But they were. Real strength isn't about being loud or bossy. It's about knowing who you are and standing up when it counts. And the ones who yell the loudest? Like Karen with her flip-flops and her phone? They might not know the whole story. Karen thought she had all the facts. She thought she was right about everything: scooters, rules, the neighborhood. But she didn't know Sarah's secret. She didn't know about the detectives. She didn't know Max was just a kid having fun, not a troublemaker. She yelled and yelled, but all that noise didn't make her smart. It just made her miss the truth. Sometimes, the loudest people are the ones who see the least. That day in Pinewood Heights was a lesson, a big one. It wasn't just about a scooter or a nosy neighbor. It was about people. Max showed you can be small and still be mighty. Sarah showed you can be quiet and still be powerful. And Karen? She showed that being loud doesn't mean you're in charge. It's like a little story about life, right there on a sunny sidewalk. You don't need to shout to win. You don't need to boss people around to be strong. You just need to keep going, like Max, or stay smart, like Sarah. What about you? Think about your own neighborhood. Have you ever had a wild day like that? Maybe a neighbor got mad about something silly like your dog barking or your bike being too loud. Maybe they yelled, and you didn't know what to do. Or maybe you were the one who kept going, like Max, riding past the noise with a big smile. What's the wildest neighbor story you've got? I'd love to hear it. Drop it in the comments below, tell me all about it. Was it funny? Was it crazy? Did someone surprise you, like Sarah surprised Karen? I bet you've got a good one. Max's day ended happy. He rode his scooter until the sun went down, until the sky turned pink and purple. Sarah watched him, proud and calm, sipping her lemonade. Karen stayed inside, probably thinking hard about what went wrong. The neighbors, Mr. Jenkins, Mrs. Lopez, the kids with their ball, all went back to their lives, smiling a little more because of what they saw. It was a good day, a fair day, a day when the right people came out on top. So here's something to remember: you don't have to be the loudest to be the strongest. You don't have to fight or yell to win. Sometimes, just being you, riding your scooter, staying cool, doing your thing is enough. Max didn't give up. Sarah didn't panic. They just kept going, and that's why they beat Karen's big fuss. You can do that too. If someone tries to boss you around, if someone thinks they know everything, just keep being you. The truth comes out in the end, just like it did in Pinewood Heights. If you like this story, give it a thumbs up. It's fun to hear about Max and Sarah, right? And Karen's red face, huh? That was the best part. If you want more stories like this, hit that subscribe button. I've got lots more to tell: crazy neighbors, brave kids, secret heroes, all that good stuff. Tell me what you think. Did Max make you laugh? Did Sarah make you cheer? What would you do with a nosy neighbor like Karen? Drop it all in the comments. I can't wait to read it. See you next time, okay? Keep writing, keep smiling, and don't let anyone stop you from having fun. Max didn't, and look how great that turned out. Pinewood Heights will never be the same, and that's a good thing. A really good thing. Bye for now. So, that's the story of how it all went down in Pinewood Heights. A sunny day turned into a big adventure, all because of a kid, a scooter, and a mom who knew more than she let on. Max, with his red scooter and big grin, didn't let Karen stop him. Sarah, with her calm smile and secret job, turned everything around. And Karen? Well, she learned that yelling doesn't always win. It's a little tale that sticks with you, doesn't it? A tale about a neighborhood, a noisy neighbor, and two people who showed what real strength looks like. Let's think about it some more. Max was just a kid, 10 years old, small, and full of energy. He didn't have a badge like the detectives or a clipboard like Karen. All he had was his scooter and a love for riding. But that was enough. When Karen came out yelling, pointing her finger, calling the police, Max didn't cry or run away. He stopped for a bit, sure, but he looked to his mom. And when she said, "Keep riding," he did. He hopped back on and zoomed off, laughing like nothing could touch him. That's strength, small, quiet strength that doesn't need to shout. Then there's Sarah. She didn't look like a hero at first. She was just sitting on her porch, sipping lemonade, watching her kid play. Karen thought she was easy to boss around, thought Sarah wouldn't fight back. But Sarah had a secret. She was a private investigator, working with undercover detectives, doing big, important stuff. She didn't yell at Karen. She didn't argue or make a fuss. She just waited, winked at Max, and let the truth come out. When those detectives showed up, when they flashed their badges, Sarah didn't have to say much. She'd already won calmly, smartly, quietly. That's strength, too big, steady strength that doesn't need to brag. And Karen? Oh, Karen thought she had all the power. She had her rules, her phone, her loud voice. She stormed out of her house, flip-flop smacking, visor bouncing, ready to make everyone listen. She thought she could scare Max, boss Sarah, control the whole neighborhood. But she didn't know the whole story. She didn't know who Sarah really was. She didn't know those detectives were coming. She yelled and yelled, but all that noise didn't help her. It just made her look silly when the truth came out. That's the thing, sometimes the loudest people miss what's right in front of them. It's like a little lesson for all of us. You don't have to be big or loud to be strong. Max was small, but he kept going. Sarah was quiet, but she was smart. Karen was loud, but she lost. Strength isn't about how much you shout or how many rules you make. It's about what's inside you, your heart, your brain, your courage. Max had a brave heart. Sarah had a clever brain. Karen. She had a loud mouth, but that wasn't enough. So next time someone tries to boss you around, remember Max and Sarah. You don't need to yell back. You just need to be you. What about your own life? Have you ever had a day like that? Maybe not with detectives or scooters, but with someone who thought they could push you around. Maybe a kid at school told you what to do, acting all big and bossy. Or maybe a grown-up like a teacher or a neighbor tried to make rules that didn't make sense. What did you do? Did you keep going, like Max? Did you stay calm, like Sarah? Or did you yell, like Karen? I bet you've got a story, something wild or funny or cool. What's the wildest neighbor story you've got? Drop it in the comments below, I'd love to hear it. Tell me who was in it, what happened, and how it ended. Was it a happy ending, like Max's? I can't wait to read it. Let's imagine Max right now. Picture him riding his scooter as the sun sets. The sky's all pink and orange, the air's cool, and his wheels go whir, whir, whir. He's laughing, hopping off the ground, feeling like the king of the world. Sarah's on the porch, watching him, proud as can be. She's not worried about Karen anymore. She's not thinking about her secret case. She's just happy Max is happy. That's what it's all about, right? Doing your thing, having fun, being with people who cheer you on. And Karen? She's probably inside, sitting at her table. Her clipboard's there, blank and lonely. Her pink visor's off, maybe on a chair. She's quiet now, really quiet. Maybe she's thinking, wow, I got that wrong. Maybe she's mad, or maybe she's embarrassed. But deep down, she knows she can't boss Max around anymore. She can't scare Sarah. She tried, and it didn't work. That's a big deal. It's justice, not loud justice with police cars and sirens, but quiet justice with a scooter and a smile. So here's the big takeaway: be like Max and Sarah. Keep going, even when someone's mad. Stay smart, even when someone's loud. You don't need to shout to show you're strong. You don't need to fight to show you're brave. Just be you, ride your scooter, sip your lemonade, do your thing. The loud ones, like Karen, might not get it at first. They might yell and point and make a fuss. But in the end, the truth comes out. The good guys win. The fun keeps going. What would you do if you were Max? Would you ride all day, laughing at the Karens of the world? Or would you be Sarah, staying cool, letting the detectives handle it? Maybe you're a little of both, brave and smart, loud and quiet, all mixed together. That's okay. You don't have to pick. You just have to keep being you, no matter what. That's what Max did. That's what Sarah did. And that's why they ruled Pinewood Heights that day. If you like this story, give it a thumbs up. It's fun, right? Max zooming around, Sarah being sneaky cool, Karen turning red. It's like a little movie in your head. If you want more stories like this, hit that subscribe button. I've got tons more crazy neighbors, brave kids, big surprises. Tell me what you think in the comments. What's your favorite part? Was it the detectives showing up? Max riding away? Karen's face? And don't forget, share your wild neighbor story. I'm waiting to hear it. See you next time, friends. Keep riding, keep smiling, keep being awesome. Max did it, Sarah did it, and you can too. Pinewood Heights is proof sometimes the smallest people have the biggest wins. Bye for now.